Nachum, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
I know that you just booed me right before we hit record. You are you are the founder of Book Like a Boss, which is an incredible booking system, which I'm going to start to use because I just researched it. I dove into the features, and it looks way better than what I'm using at the moment. So
Awesome.
I know that every time you probably click through someone's calendar, you're like, oh, this could be done so much better.
It's funny. First of all, because when we first were launching, people would ask me, "So you're like Calendly?" We're like, "No, we're not like Calendly. We're nothing like Calendly." And so we actually have a website called notcalendly.com.
All right.
So if you want to go there, and you can see like there's over like 30 differences, and there's soon going to be a bunch more differences between us and them.
Uh,
But we got a letter from the lawyer a couple months ago, a cease and desist, which was so exciting. I
nice.
still have to get it framed, but yeah, they didn't like some of the things we were saying. But by law, we're allowed to use their name as long as we're not disparaging, which we wouldn't do anyway. And we just made some changes, and then they were cool with it. But it was nice to get noticed by them.
Years ago, when I was a musician, we recorded an album. My band name was called FON, for Freak of Nature, and we called the album Phonopoly, and we used kind of some of the imagery, and we got a cease and desist
Yeah,
from
cease and desist.
hell. And so we changed the album name to Cease and Desist. We kept we're like, how did they find out this tiny little band in San Diego using it? But they have got their minions working to
Have their
find
lawyers. They got to get paid to do something, right?
100%, 100%. So Malcolm, you're living in Israel in Beit Shemesh. Are you originally from there? Did you move there from somewhere else? Give us a little bit back of the backstory.
Sure. So I was born and raised in Passaic, New Jersey, which those who know is about 15 minutes from the Lincoln Tunnel. I mean, it depends how long or short we're going to go, but like after 9/11, my wife and I were able to see the towers burning from our condo in Passaic. And we realized that, hey, we're probably not any safer here than in Israel. And I had spent already 5 years in Israel as a student, post high school, and then my wife had spent a year there also. And we had decided when we got married that one day we want to move there. So after 9/11, that really pushed us to move, and so we moved in 2002.
Wow, amazing. And it's December 5th, 2024, which is the date of the recording. Obviously, you guys have gone through a tough year in Israel with all the bombs and October 7th. I just want to ask, how are you? How's your family doing? And as an entrepreneur, here in San Diego, outside of Israel, we're always praying for you guys. We're always, davening all the time, prayers, and we feel a lot of anti-Semitism. We feel what's going on. How has it been for you there as an entrepreneur, as a family man, going through what's happening?
So yeah, thank you for that, and thank you for everybody for the prayers and for the concern. And it's legit. The concern is needed. Thankfully, where I live in Beit Shemesh, we don't have a lot of the sirens going off. We're not under constant attack. Although, I do have to. We just had an episode recently when Iran attacked us I think it was the second time, and I was actually driving home from the hospital. My mother was in the hospital for something which ended up being nothing, thankfully. But I was driving home with one of my sons from the hospital, and as we're driving from Jerusalem to Beit Shemesh, you could see like dozens and dozens of missiles coming towards Israel, coming in Israel, and it was just very surreal to see that in front of you. And usually, we're very calm with the children and very relaxed. But with Iran, you just don't know what they're planning, what type of missiles. And so, we immediately started saying prayers in the car, and we are driving home. I wanted to be with my family. And usually, even throughout all the sirens, we usually don't go into the sealed room. But this time, my wife, because all the phones were going off, it was a little crazy. People didn't know what was really going on. And so, my whole family went to our sealed room, and my 3-year-old threw up,
Oh,
and then my 10-year-old also threw up. My two of my daughters, and that really upset me. I mean, I know it's compared to everything else, but like then it got real, and then we had another siren about a week later, and my 3-year-old panicked, ran to the room, and she threw up again. No
Oh,
one even said go to the room. No one was running. Everything was like relaxed, but she heard it. And I said, my gosh, my 3-year-old daughter has to have this trauma on her that she hears a siren and she runs and she throws up and she's terrified. Um, and so yeah, it's real. But I'll tell you, as an entrepreneur in business and stuff, there's been a lot of support. We haven't seen. I mean, as a rule, for as a company, we've decided a long time ago that we're not getting involved in politics. We're not getting involved in religion. That our software is available for everybody, and we've stayed true to that. And we publicly don't talk about things because we're in business and we want everybody to be happy and we love everybody and every person in this world is created in the image of God and is deserving of respect and love and care. And so we are, we don't want to get in the middle of two sides. But when people hear we're from Israel, and take meetings and stuff, it's always been, full of support and which is great to see. I think a lot of times what you see on the news, they may be, it's blasted 100 times more powerful than it actually is.
for sure.
But still, there is legit stuff going on. Every time you see someone else get killed, it's painful. It breaks your heart.
Yeah.
The hostages that are still being held. I pray for them 3 times a day, and it hurts. It hurts. It doesn't. You don't get used to it, and it's not something that's just gonna pass until it's finally over.
Yeah, agreed. Just know that here outside of Israel, we're praying for you. We're doing everything that we can in our, I think I did an interview with a Chazan who came from Israel. I think America has sent, $1.4 billion to Israel, the Jewish community, the Christian community, to be able to support the soldiers and everything. So just know that we've got your back, my friend. We're here for you. So talking about Book Like a Boss, tell us what you went to Israel. What did you do before this software company? I know you've written a book, podcasting, all this great stuff
Right.
before the software company.
Yes, I mean I've been an entrepreneur pretty much my whole life. I was a kid that was shoveling snow, at 11 years old, shoveling driveways and stuff. And then I got into baseball cards and was doing baseball card shows in my early teens. Had the candy locker in high school till I got kicked out of high school, which is a whole nother story.
All right.
Uh, yeah. And then I when I ended up going to Israel I dropped out of high school in my junior year, which is a long story, but I ended up taking some courses in a community college, which I had to pay for, which was fine. I was working and paying for my courses, and then I kept in touch with one of my rabbis that I felt really cared about me and really liked me, and from one of my previous high schools. And he said, "Why don't you go to Israel for the year?" And I said, "All right, why not?" My parents were like, "Sure, you could go." And what was supposed to be like 1 year ended up being 5 years.
Wow.
But then when I came back, I spent about 10 years before I got married in the advertising promotional business, t-shirts, hats, and mugs and all these things, which was great because I've always been very creative. I was living by my parents, and I'd make a sale, make a few $1,000s, and I didn't have any overhead or anything like that. So, have fun in my 20s and making, needed more money, made another sale. I didn't take it too seriously. I was having a little bit of a good time. Then I met my wife, and then it got a little bit more serious. Like, oh, I guess I have to have a steady income. So ended up working for a promotional company for a few months until I broke out on my own. And then I had my first high tech company I started in the States, which is a whole nother story. But then I came to Israel and I started in 2002. I was a co-founder of an instant messaging company, interoperable instant messaging company, which sort of integrated MSN, AIM, Skype, Yahoo, and us. And we had like a whole chatting widget.
Taking it back to the old school.
Yeah, really old school. And I came up with the idea to put a mall connected to the chat. So if you buy something on the chat, if you buy something from the mall, you would earn, you get like money back. And if somebody you brought into the chat would come in and buy something from the mall, you get a piece of commission, like an affiliate fee from them. And I did that for 3 years until this was in 2005. I said to my co-founders, my partners, I said to them, listen, we got to get into something called social media, social networking. And they said, what's that? And I said, well, it's this place where you could come and people could come and they could leave messages and you could, you have you know, a place where you could leave your updates. And they said, we can't do that. One of my partners said, you can't do that. I said, why not? He said, because then people would speak bad about us. I said, but this is the internet. They can speak bad about us anyway. He says,
Yeah,
yeah, but we shouldn't
exactly.
give them the platform to do it. And I was the visionary of the company. I saw where things were going. There was this company called Facebook that had just launched in Harvard at the time. Right? There's something called Friendster. We had like 70,000, 80,000 people already in our messenger. And I already found a company that we could do this for about $5,000. We'd be able to integrate the chat into a social network, but they didn't see the vision. And so I left the company. So then in 2005, I started another company, high tech, called Koof, which was QOOF, Koof.com. And it later became Viewbix. We rebranded about 5 years later. But the idea behind that was, I took a look at the industry, what was going on with video, and everybody and YouTube was just getting hot, and people were questioning how do we monetize the video, pre-roll, post-roll, mid-roll ads. I looked at it differently and said, how do we use this video as a selling tool? How do we bring Home Shopping Network onto the internet? And so I I have like four patents,
Oh, yeah.
because of that technology. I mean, it was owned by the company, unfortunately, but my ideas resulted in these patents. We were the first to put an overlay on top of video. Now you see it all the time, but I came up with that idea originally, and then in 2008, the markets took a turn for the worse. And then in 2010, after 5 years of the company, one of our investors said, "Listen, you're not going to be able to get any new sales for the next 12 months. I'm willing to give you another $500,000 to keep you guys going." I had 13 employees. I'll keep you guys going for another year, but I want like 80% of the company. And that was just like heartbreaking to me. To start a company, it takes it from an idea to build it up, raise the money, to put the team together, to get something to MVP, to get something which is actually making revenue, and to put in, the 16, 17-hour days and the blood, sweat, and tears, and to have it, have a choice where either you close down a company and fire your employees, or you just lose 80% of the company. I made the choice to keep it going. The company actually exited a few years later, but not the way, and I was able to help them actually from the sidelines, able to help them get over a hump as well, because it's, even if your baby turns against you, it's still your baby.
Yeah, for sure.
But after that, I started a few other companies. I started, one of them was and this will lead into Book Like a Boss. One of them was a apparel company. I said, how hard is it to make a shirt? And apparently it's a lot harder than I ever thought it was. I have a special needs child, and he was wearing a bib every day, to sort of soak up any drool or anything like that. And I was like, at the time, I think he was like 12, 13. I said, why does a 12-year-old, 13-year-old need to wear a bib? So I created a shirt that had like a bib on the inside. So it was so it would keep him clean, and it was quick dry and antibacterial, and started creating a line of clothing called Mianzi Fashion. But we did a Kickstarter campaign, which was very successful. And then, I started manufacturing in China. I went to China, and I got screwed over by China. It was, they basically, I was selling shirts with the bib inside and without, so that anybody could wear it. It's like the whole family could wear the same clothing.
Okay.
And so like 75% of the orders with the bibs on the inside, only 25% was without. So when they finally, and it was like, it took like 6 months back and forth, the materials, the colors, the sizes, it was crazy how many steps goes into creating a shirt. And whatever. So after 6 months, they asked me to sign off a ship. They showed me pictures and videos, and it all looked good. And they said I signed off on it, sent them the money, and they shipped out the shirts. The day after it shipped out, the person I was talking to at the company said, "Oh, by the way, we sent you 75% without the bib and only 25% with."
Oh,
And I said, "How could you do that?" They said, "Well, that's what we did." I said, "But I need the ones that," I said, they said, "Oh, there was no apology. It was just, so that's what we sent." So now and I had people on Kickstarter that was waiting already 6 months for these shirts.
And they paid
And now I
for
have a choice. Do I start from scratch with another manufacturer, or do I bite my tongue and work with these people again to
yeah.
try to get the missing shirts? And again, make a long story short, um, I asked them for a discount since they clearly messed up the order. They said they would give me a 2% discount.
Nice. Beautiful. It's a
Yeah,
lot of money.
real beautiful. Wasn't that heartwarming? Anyway, I
So
so
so kind of them. So
I'm
then
an entrepreneur.
that brought you. So first of all, I want to say that creative, entrepreneur, visionary, and not just. It seems like you're a very hard worker, right?
Yeah,
Like you're
I
like you're really trying, essentially. I mean, with a book
oh
like The
yeah,
Boss, you're doing amazing, but like you've always been trying to make it in your own terms.
sure.
Where
Yeah,
does that come from?
my friends are amazed how you could get knocked down and just you know get back up. And it's to start a company is murder. It's
Yeah,
the startup world in general. And to do it repeatedly, it's like, are you a pacifist? Are you I'm not sorry, masochist?
that's a good.
You,
There you
you
go.
enjoy pain. um but what happened was after 2 years, but I'm also a guy who doesn't give up. Like I refuse to give up. I'll keep pushing till having the choice. And after 2 years with this company, I actually had to close it, which was very painful because it was a labor of love. It was something I was trying to do for my child and for other children. And that's when I took a break. I said, you know what, I'm not starting more companies. That's when I started a podcast.
Hmm.
That's when I wrote a book. And
The
then
the
due
full
to
entrepreneur, right?
from entrepreneur,
Nice. And you had a
both that was in the
podcast with the same name.
podcasting. Yeah.
Awesome.
Um, and the idea from means Orthodox, or
Yep.
Orthodox Jews, and it was interviewing other Orthodox founders and company owners and businesses to learn from them. And then the book also, I had seen like a lot in the workspace business, that people that you would think that can be very very orthodox in their ways, but when it comes to business, sometimes they bent the line a little bit.
Hmm.
Even to me personally, partners I had that like I couldn't believe it, like to do things that like just unheard of. And so I wanted to write this book to like try and show people the right way how to do business.
Love that.
Um,
Amazing.
yeah. And so
Then
what
you got,
happened was, yeah, I
and
said
then you
because
got,
of the success of the book and the podcast, so then people kept, you know, messaging me or calling me, hey, can I take you out for a cup of coffee? Can I buy you lunch? And I was like, well, I charge my time. Well, how much you charge? I said $300 an hour. I said, oh, $300 an hour. Well, what is, can you tell me more about you then? It's just like, so it became like a lot of wasted time. And I said, but I had, 20 years of experience, 25 years of entrepreneurial experience and, ideas and stuff. So it was well worth it. But the people, I said, there was a lot of people that just was time wasters. And so I said, I wish there was a place where when someone says, hey, can I buy a cup of coffee? I could send them a link that wasn't just a calendar, but had all information about me, had the frequently asked questions, all the things I know you're going to ask, has the different services I offer, what the costs are, and my calendar. And that way you learn everything you need to know about me. If you're interested, you could book me and pay for it. And then, and no more wasted time going back and forth or uncomfortable feelings or whatever. But it didn't exist. So I tried building it on WordPress, and then something would get updated and throw off something else. I was going to hire a WordPress professional, and he wanted like $3,000 to build it. I said, forget it. A couple of months later, I get an email from a friend of mine whose sister was a masseuse, and she said, listen, I don't know if you know anybody, but I'm looking for a one-page website that's quite similar, that has my calendar. It says, these are the massages I offer. Here's my calendar. Let people book me and pay for it all from one page. Does such a thing exist? So my friend sent it to me, and I said, that's when the light bulb went off. And I said, wait a second. If I, as a business coach, has this need, and here's a masseuse that has this need, with the gig economy taking off and the senior market, people looking for to do things, I said, I bet there's a need for a simple, easy way to sell services online. And I pitched it to my friend David Yudkowitz, my co-founder and CTO, and he loved the idea. And we set out to build it back in 2005. Launched in 2000. I'm sorry, not 2000, 2015. We launched it in 2017, and thank God it's doing well, and some very exciting things in the pipeline still.
amazing. And now you don't have to get knocked down again, hopefully, as hard as you did before. You've got some, how many people do you guys have using the software?
Uh, somewhere around 40,000,
Amazing.
40,000.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
And let's talk about this real quick as the the guys who are listening. One, go check out Book Like a Boss. By the way, your web design, like the website itself, is beautiful. It's easy. It's clear. The
Thank
features,
you.
the pricing is like it's very, very well made. So whoever made that, give them kudos. So congrats to
Well,
them.
I'll tell the team we put a lot of effort into it.
Yeah, it looks really, really nice. It really does. Tell me this. When people use a great booking system like Book Like a Boss, as opposed to a Calendly, or so just hey, let's make a meeting. And I'll tell you like where I come from. I also believe that God brings guests on my show, not just for the listeners, but for me as well. And as I'm building my business, I do leadership consulting and coaching and team building. And people always say like, hey, Gal, yeah, let's book some time to speak. Right? Hey, I want to hear what you're doing. Great. And I send them a link and nothing happens. Right?
Mm.
What causes people to book a time with you? What causes people to be like, okay, I'm gonna get, I'm gonna have time to be able to see
Right.
what you do so we can make a sale. Let's talk about that because I know there's a lot of guys who run their own businesses here who are like, I want people to book a session with me, more time with me, a consult with me, whatever that is.
So that's, I mean, that's really what Book Like a Boss is about, because you have two types of people: people that aren't serious about their business and growth, and people that are, right? So if somebody wants to hire a coach and is looking for it, so what you want to do, and you know this from sales, is that you want to take all the possible no's, and you know what no's people have, and turn those into yeses, or answer them before they even call you,
Yeah.
right? Which was the purpose of Book Like a Boss. Book Like a Boss was not meant to be, um, just a calendar with bookings. It was meant to be the crossing off those no's, so that somebody comes, they could see who you are, see what you're about, answer the questions that they most likely have, see the different services you offer and the prices. And so if they're wasting your time, you don't want them getting on a phone call for 20 minutes anyway if they're not serious.
Yeah.
So here, if someone does book you, one, they're paying for it up front, or if it's just, or you could book for free also, but at least you know that they know what you charge, they know what you're about, and so the chances of you closing a larger deal is much stronger,
Yeah.
right? And you're not wasting their time, you're not wasting your time. And so we see people converting much more business with ours than with a Calendly page. That first of all, it's branded with Calendly, takes them off your website, and really doesn't tell you anything more about the person than like a little picture,
Yeah.
right? So here you get so much more and answers all the questions, and that helps with converting sales.
Love it. I also remember, I think it was Frank Kern, who's one of the big
Genius.
marketing, yeah, genius marketing gurus. He started to charge for his time. And he would say like, hey, it's a $500 deposit. If you don't show up for my call, you don't get it back. And he said that I think like 75% of his time was opened up. And he goes, I made a lot more money because people started paying me for my time. And that's when he realized he's like, I can make money just for my time. And two, like people are going to show up because they pay.
Right. Right.
Amazing. Love it. Now let's go. Let's do
And
this. Let's go back to like all those times that you were knocked down before Book Like a Boss, and obviously you're an observant Jew, a frum Jew, as you guys call it. Did you grow up observant?
I grew up more modern.
Okay,
uh, so like and I became more Haredi, as they say, when I went to Israel for 5 years.
got it. And so, what did you do when it came those tough times? Knocked out. China gave you the wrong order. I'm sure partners and things and investors, things are going wrong. How do you lean on your faith to be able to get through those times?
So first, just to be clear, even a book like a boss, even though it also has its ups and downs and its challenges, and sometimes, like I always kid with my partner, we say, when the book comes out, people are going to be blown away, because only when you're in the business and you're living it day to day do you know what's going on, the challenges, the things that you think are going to work out end up don't, and then something else working out it does, like, or there's always ups and downs and challenges, with every business. But I try to put my faith in God. There's a very eternal concept when it comes in Judaism, is that all God expects us to do is put in the effort, whether it's spiritual or in the physical world, in the business world. God wants us to do the effort to put in. the results are up to God, right? So when you know that the results are not up to you, that you could only do the best you can and put in that effort. But whether that business meeting is going to work out or not, or whether that or whether you're going to get a new sale, or whether what you thought was going to happen is going to happen or not, that's all up to God. But all you could do is put in your effort, and that sort of takes the pressure off a bit, because you realize that the results are not in your hands, right? And it's the same thing spiritually, although spiritually it's actually a lot more rewarding, because when you attempt to do things spiritually, you get rewarded whether you do it or not, right? So if you had an intention to do a commandment, to do a mitzvah, you wanted to put on tefillin, right? One day, it's become very popular, which is fantastic to see. So beautiful to see so many. You don't have to be religious to put on tefillin,
Yeah.
right? You just have to be a Jewish male, right? So to put on tefillin, and you wanted to do it, and let's say you just weren't able to that day, you left your tefillin at home or whatever it was, but you wanted to, you'll get the reward as if you had put it on, as if you put it on, which is beautiful. So a lot of times in business, my wife, see, I always try to live according to the principles of the Torah. And a lot of times when things happen to me by other Jews, or partners and stuff, especially earlier in my career, my wife would who's my wife has always been amazing and supportive and is just unbelievable. But she would say, that I was naive, because I just felt like, well, doesn't everybody feel that way? Doesn't everybody care about everyone else, and doesn't want to harm another person, and wouldn't try to trick or anything like that? And because I couldn't do it. It's not part of who I am. It's like I could never hurt somebody, and yet there are people out there that will stab you in the back, and you're just like, well, how did that happen? How could that have happened? And but you have to believe that everything that happens, God has a plan, and everything happens for a reason. And knowing that enables us to keep moving forward. And that's like with all challenges in life, whether it's with children, with family, with money, with everything. Realizing and knowing that it's God who's ultimately in control makes things a lot easier to deal with. We don't have to look for an escape, because we could just connect to the Creator.
Mm. And I will say that, you talked about challenges. 3 years ago, after my father passed away, I was one of the biggest coaches in the pawn shop industry as business coaching. And the national organization who I supported with all my heart and soul, they betrayed me. Like they
Mm.
stole employees from me, and they it was very, very tough. And to be able to bounce back the way that you have is very admirable from things like that, because I'm the same as you. Like, I don't want to hurt people. I don't want, I just want to be honest, transparent. This is what's going on. I've never betrayed like that. My innate feeling is like, I'm just going to be honest with you so we can just be okay together. Like, I don't want that
Right.
confrontation of betrayal. I think it's disgusting and ugly, and stealing from people and not saying from people and all that type of stuff. And so for me, it was very, very tough to get over. Very tough. And my wife
Sure.
is the same as yours, beautiful human being, very supportive. She's like, you're just naive. People are evil. You got to be careful, And I just put my
Right.
trust in people because that's the way I am.
Right.
And
Yeah. I've always been that way, and I've gotten burned so many times, because I just don't understand, like, why. So I mean, I guess you see it. I guess maybe and thank God it doesn't really. There are instances that did happen, but the positives that I've seen, the relationships I've had are 1,000 times better, and 1,000 times more. But those instances when it does happen, and you feel betrayed and you feel hurt, and it's tough. It's tough.
I,
But
I always say that, when something like that happens, like God was trying to tell you to go somewhere else, right? God was trying to like
exactly.
drive you somewhere else, and you didn't, and you didn't, and you didn't. So you had to give a bigger push, like a bigger kick in the butt
Exactly.
to make the move actually happen, right? So,
Right.
so beautiful, love that. And I think that it's a great lesson in like who we are as Jewish men, to be able to know that, the phrase bitachon has been used on this podcast many, many times, where we've got to have just like true faith, and know that it's for the best. And whatever's happened to you in your business, whether you've been betrayed, stolen from, know that something positive is going to come out of that. And so I love it.
Absolutely.
So as people are doing business, Nachum, and they're booking things, and you're saying like people are booking more, calls to the software. How are we creating more connections through it? I went through the program kind of. I went through the samples that you guys have, which by the way is brilliant. The sample
Perfect.
page. And I saw like videos of people like, hey, this is who I am. So you should book me my about. You're also creating connection, not just here, book a time. You're creating connection to who I am and the trust and belief in me so that we can move forward in this transaction
Right.
essence. Is that right?
It's a famous, yeah. I mean, you've heard it, one of the number one rules of business, people buy from people,
Yeah.
right? And I think the more personable you can be, the more, and you don't have to be someone else, be yourself, right? That's another beautiful thing. You don't have to try and act like someone else. You can just be yourself. And if it's meant to happen, it's going to happen. The good stuff's going to happen. It'll happen, right? People can sense, again, I don't like to bring up politics, but I think that's what we saw in the American elections. People were able to sense that, that Trump was real. When he spoke, he was speaking from his heart. And he was speaking from, with all the good and the bad, at least you knew that he was telling you he was who he is, and he tells you how it is, and you
Yeah.
may not like it, but at least he's being truthful with you, right? With Harris, it didn't seem that way. It seemed like everything was scripted or or pre-planned or pre-written. And I think people, and it's not me saying this, is the quote unquote pundits from both sides said that she wasn't able to connect with the people. Right when she didn't go on Joe Rogan's podcast, that was like a huge mistake because that was her opportunity to spend the hours to get people to speak to, because Joe knows how to speak to somebody as a person and just have a conversation, right? And that was a big mistake on her part for not doing that. But as you were saying, people buy from people that they know, like, and trust, right? So you be yourself, you be who you are. People will pick up on that, and they'll want to do business with you, and of course connect with you. And the more you could, also people like sometimes it's weird to meet somebody new. They feel uncomfortable. Again, that's why our booking pages are so powerful because you can put pictures. So if you're a Yankee fan and you have a picture of the Yankees or whatever, so now you open up a door to someone, say, oh, I'm a Red Sox fan, and boo, you open up doors and conversation pieces so people can somewhat relate and see, oh, you're a normal person, you have friends, you have family, you're into sports or whatever you're into, and so people, there's already a comfort level made before someone even books you.
So the phrase that came up to me, and I wrote it down here next to me, it's, connect like a boss. In order for us to build more bridges, to do more business, to make more sales, we've got to connect to ourselves, right? And our faith, as you talked about, and connect to the other people who we want to do business with. And when we're transparent and honest and we are who we are, we connect deeper, we can make more money. And I think we just have more peace as we move along in business.
Absolutely.
How have you, Nachum, how, like, going through what you've gone through, you talked about having a special needs child, moving to Israel, getting kicked out of school, whatever that was, these other stories that we can go for a part two.
Yeah.
How are you connecting to yourself more as a Jew? And then how are you connecting to your clients more to have that deeper relationship so that the relationship is longer, the transaction is longer?
Right. It's a good question. Connecting to myself, I just went through my father died 11 months ago.
Oh, sorry.
And thank you. And I know you mentioned your father passed a few years ago, so I'm sorry for that as well. Um, but that caused me, when we're in this mourning period, which is a year, there's no music, there's no going to smachot, to weddings or bar mitzvahs or anything like that. And also you say Kaddish, you're supposed to say Kaddish, 3 times a day, and even lead the services, which thankfully I was able to do for my father. Like, so it gave me a lot of pause and a lot of time to think and really build on my connection. One, I felt even closer to my father after he left than the last, years when he was sick, and it was much harder to connect with him. But I felt like I was doing something very tangible for him when I was saying Kaddish and saying the prayers, but also my relationship with God. Also, I felt more connected, and there was a lot more reflection um, during this year. Both as as a servant to God, but also um, my relationship with my father made me think a lot about what's my relationship with my children,
Yeah.
right? Because I felt all the good in I felt this like drive to do for my father, to somehow give back to him for all the years that he gave to me unconditionally, his unconditional love for me, and his always being there for me my entire life. I had this drive. I just wanted to try and do something for him. But also, I want my kids to have that feeling. I want my kids to have that to have that feeling that their dad, their father was always there for them. Um, and so building on those connections with the children, with my wife, with God, has happened a lot more during this year. In terms of customers, I don't really deal so much one-on-one with the customers, because a lot of them just come to the website, sign up.
Yeah.
Um, but my team, I have an amazing team, thankfully, and I connect with them. And I just got a beautiful message about 2 weeks ago from I have one of our employees lives in Colombia, and he sent me a message, and he says, "I want you to know I just bought my mother a house,
Mm.
and it's all thanks to you. And I'm so appreciative of how you treat me and how you understand me, and how he was just so happy with the way I treated him, because we're booked like a boss. We call all ourselves bosses. I may be quote unquote the CEO or the co-founder, but I treat all my employees as we're on the same level. We're all one team, and they know that's coming from my heart, so they feel that and they sense that. And it's a style of leadership, I think, that maybe some people see as risky, but I just see it as normal, right? We learned that you should treat others how you want to be treated, right? That's from Pirkei Avot,
Yeah.
right? We want to. It's a very well known Jewish saying, and so like just because I'm where I am doesn't mean that I'm above you. You have your role and I have my role, and we all have challenges in life and with family and this and that. And if I could be your friend, if I could be that partner for you, if I could be that person for you, it's the greatest feeling in the world. And I'm so happy that the people that do work for me, or work with me, I should say, that they feel that, and that it's genuine.
Love that. I couldn't agree more. As a leadership and development coach, it's exactly what I believe in. First is to lead with heart, is to care about people. That's everyone's like, oh, the best thing about leadership is it's heart. Like when you care about people and you connect to them deep down inside and their wants, their needs, they'll take a bullet for you.
Yeah,
They'll do things that you couldn't even imagine, because they know that you have their back. They know that you truly care, genuinely.
yeah.
And that's
And
when
also
that
the trust is
happens.
built.
Yeah.
The trust is built. I don't check their hours. I don't check, and they do amazing work,
Yeah.
and I never have to worry about. And if they ask it, and like sometimes they'll say, hey, I need to take off for these 2 days for that. I said, no problem. Don't you don't have to tell me.
Yeah.
I know you. We got the relationship. You get the stuff done. I know you're there, and so you build that trust also, which is so important.
Love it. Love it. Nachum, this has been amazing. For those of you who are listening, make sure to go check out Book Like a Boss. Get off of those other scheduling platforms. Support a tribesman, and as well as I mean, I truly think that the features are incredible. It just looks nicer. The features are great, and like you said, you'll connect with somebody deeper just through the page, and you'll have all of um, those no's answered for people before they even book, which is amazing. And for me in my work, that's I want to jump on a Zoom call and a phone call with everything answered already, and just get down to like the business. Let's go. Let's make this happen.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, Nachum, again, sorry for the passing of your father.
Thank you.
May you have peace with it. I know that when my father passed away, it was very tough on me. He was a man who supported me. He was always there for me. Seems like you got a very good relationship with your father. And they say that you don't
Yeah.
become a real man until your father passes away. Um,
Mm.
and it's tough. So I know it. I see it, and my heart goes out to you, brother. And thank you for
Thank
creating
you.
such a great product. Thank you for being on the podcast. Any parting words for the men listening of the tribe to the show?
The only thing I say is don't give up. The world sometimes may seem it's crazy, and if you watch the news, it really is crazy. But keep the faith, keep strong. It's not about how many times you get down, it's how many times you get knocked down and get back up. I think that's Rocky Balboa,
Yep.
but it's very true. Don't let things bring you down. And there's connections out there. There's connections with God, connections with family, connections with friends. Use those connections. That's what they're there for.
Love it. Amazing. Thank you so much, Nachum. And as always, may you be blessed with strength and courage. Chazak ve'ematz. Thank you for being on the show.
Amen.
For those of you listening, stay tuned for the next episode of the Tribesmen podcast. Thanks for being here.